The following is a special presentation of King 5, the home team. We've had the wake-up call.
Pretty scary.
Some plans worked.
Yeah, everybody knew what to do right away.
Some didn't.
There's no sound at all. It just keeps saying dialing and then the number.
Well, the damage is still being assessed.
You've got basically wavy floors in there right now.
We are now given a second chance to be better prepared, better equipped, and better able to survive what many experts say still lies in our future.
I lost everything.
Have you responded to the wake-up call?
We've now had this fabulous dress rehearsal. We know that we can do this.
Now's your chance. We'll give you the information you need to know. Northwest Earthquake, a survivor's guide.
Good evening, I'm Dennis Bounds.
And I'm Margaret Larson. This week's 6.8 magnitude earthquake seemed bad enough, but it was truly only a warning shot.
Every year, more than 1,000 earthquakes rattle the Northwest. Most aren't even noticed. Scientists tell us it's just a matter of time until one of those quakes is the big one. And when it hits, we better be prepared.
Tonight, King 5 News, along with our colleagues from Evening Magazine, will tell you not only how to get ready, but what to do when the next earthquake rumbles through our community.
First, environmental specialist Scott Miller explains why scientists say the big one is lurking in our future.
Most Puget Sound residents never felt anything like it before. Shaking so severe that more than a few people thought the big one is here.
I was under my desk shaking. I was really shaking, so yeah, I thought it was.
When it was happening, did you think it was the big one?
Yes, of course. Especially working in the Starbucks building, so that was bad.
But freshly fallen bricks were still on the ground when we heard the experts tell us,
well, this is a large event, but not the largest event, nor the most damaging that could occur in this area.
in fact, Wednesday's quake was a familiar variety, deep and centered south of Seattle, substantially stronger than a similar quake in 1965, but substantially weaker than this quake in 1949. To the trained eye, there are signs of past earthquakes much bigger than the one on Wednesday all over western Washington. Seattle's Alki Point, for example, used to be beneath Puget Sound until a huge earthquake 1,000 years ago lifted this land by 21 feet. Beneath Lake Washington lies a whole forest dislodged by that same earthquake, and along the Washington coast, remnants of another forest killed when a massive offshore quake sunk it into salt water. It's all a sign of the enormous forces at work constantly beneath our feet. The Juan de Fuca plate, a piece of the Earth's crust, slides under the North American plate all along western Washington. Quakes like Wednesday's come when the end of the Juan de Fuca plate buckles deep beneath the surface. Far more dangerous are shallow quakes on faults that cross Puget Sound, including one that runs right through Seattle. I mean, what would we be looking at?
Very severe damage, very, very severe damage, devastating damage.
Then there are the quakes along the fault where those two huge plates first meet, off the northwest coast. These subduction zone quakes, like the one that hit Alaska in 1964, are the strongest ever recorded.
The shaking would continue for 2 to 4 minutes of strong ground motion.
In jumpy western Washington, the realization is sinking in. The next quake could be worse than this one. A lot worse. For some, it's discouraging.
Now I'm sort of partly thinking I have to be prepared and partly thinking, am I sure I want to live on the West Coast?
Closer to the surface next time, we could have just as much damage as India or LA. So, time to move.
Others, though, see this quake as a warning to be better prepared next time. At this hardware store, just 2 days after the ground shook, nearly every brace, strap, or bolt to make a house more earthquake-proof was sold out. In Seattle, Scott Miller, King 5 News.
Knowing what to do when the earth quakes is not necessarily second nature. What we've learned and what we really do under pressure are often two different things. For instance, these spectators at the state high school basketball playoffs in the Tacoma Dome. Or these reporters and photographers waiting for a press conference about to start in the Seattle mayor's office. Or this person interrupted in mid-sentence at a city council meeting. by something so astounding she seems unable to grasp what's happening. But reacting quickly and in the right way can be a matter of life and death in a quake.
That is correct. So what exactly do you do when the shaking starts? Here's King 5's Glenn Farley.
If you're indoors, watch for falling, flying, or sliding objects, and above all, stay away from windows. Try to find a heavy object like a bed or a good table to hide under, and hold on to it. And if it moves around the room, you move with it. If you happen to be in the kitchen when an aftershock strikes, make sure you turn things off like the stove first. Avoid heavy objects like refrigerators, and look for cover under a table. If you are outdoors, move to an open area away from buildings, trees, power poles, brick or block walls, or other objects that could fall. If you feel the shaking while you're driving, you'll want to pull over and stop, but you don't want to stop under a bridge, on top of a bridge, or on an overpass. And you want to stop where you won't be hit by a falling power pole or trees. If you're caught at work in a high-rise office building, try and get under a desk. If you can't find a desk, get to an interior hallway with your back toward the windows. Don't be surprised if the alarm or sprinkler systems come on. And if you're going to evacuate, be sure you use the stairs. Do not use the elevators. If you are in a wheelchair, stay in it. Move to cover if possible. Lock your wheels and protect your head with your arm. If you're caught inside of a store, get away from big windows and get away from glass display cases. Try and get under a heavy object. Pick your exit carefully. And when the shaking stops, try and get out of the building. In Seattle, Glenn Farley, King 5 News.
There's something else to worry about after a large quake: tsunamis. Scientists say the giant tidal waves pose a real threat to western Washington. In October 1994, a huge earthquake off the coast of Japan set off the tsunami warning sirens in Westport. Residents evacuated the coast, heading for higher ground, but luckily, the tsunami never materialized. These pictures shot in northern Japan a few years ago show what can happen when a 50-foot wave hits the shore, wiping out everything in its wake. Experts from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, say Washington would have about 10 hours warning of a tsunami coming from Japan, but less than half an hour's notice if that tsunami was generated from a quake off our own coast.
Coming up next, what you need to do immediately after an earthquake strikes.
Plus, you see damage around your house, a do-it-yourself project might be the right call. Some do's and don'ts still ahead.
And throughout the show, we will be asking the experts some common quake questions. What do I do if I'm in bed when the earthquake hits? The answer is next.
I said, oh God, and I thought something was going to come down and hit me and crush me. That's all I thought. I just thought I was gone.
Our question: what do I do if I'm in bed when the earthquake hits? We've called on Eric Holdeman to help answer that question.
Eric's a manager of King County Emergency Management, and before Eric answers that, you want to give us instructions before we go to bed tonight.
That's absolutely right there. What you need to do first is position that bed tonight away from the windows so that when the glass breaks during an earthquake, it's not coming in on you. Then make sure that that heavy picture or mirror, whatever you have over your bed, is taken away and replaced with some nice straw arrangement. You're going to put a pair of old shoes under your bed to be able to slip on right after the quake, and you're going to have a flashlight right next to the bed. Then when the shaking starts, what you actually do is stay in bed, take your pillow, put it over your head until the shaking stops. It's protecting your head. Then you get up, put those shoes on, grab that flashlight, and as you're going to check on the kids, you don't have to worry about having cut feet, and that's the most common injury we see is found in Northridge, where people cut their feet, run in to check on the kids. Do those things, and a third of the time out of your day, you'll be a lot safer.
So nothing really big or heavy anywhere near or above the bed.
That's
what about
right.
a ceiling fan? Would that pose
That
danger?
should be okay because it's fastened tighter. To the, it's actually bolted into the ceiling.
You really have to fight your instinct, though, just to hop out of bed and go check on family or check on other places in the house.
What we say is you don't want to have happy feet. You need to have training and practice. You practice this with your kids, too. And through practice, doing the drills like the kids do at school, parents at home working that with the kids need to know that, to do that, too, not just jump up and run for mommy or daddy.
Right. All right, Eric, thank you.
If you want answers to more questions, King5.com is hosting a special 1-hour online chat with Eric and Mike Egan of the Seattle Red Cross, who will join us later in this broadcast. Just head to our website, King5.com, and click on Web Chat. The chat starts right after our special at 9 o'clock.
Well, after the quake is struck and the shaking is over, stop and think about what other dangers might be present in your home or maybe your workplace.
You may have survived the earthquake, but can you survive its aftermath? Once again, here's King 5's Glenn Farley.
The earthquake's now over. You're outside of your house. Now comes the question, is it safe to go back inside? One of the first things you want to look at is to see if your house is still resting on its foundation. If it's not, your house is probably not sound enough to go back in. Also look for downed electrical power lines. If you find those, get away. Don't touch them. Once inside, look around for signs of fire. Also, smell for the presence of natural gas. You can also listen for a hissing sound, which may indicate that a gas pipe is broken. If you detect the presence of gas, go back outside. If you want to turn off the gas to your entire house, first you find the meter located outside. Then with the wrench, turn the valve 90 degrees until it's in this position. Know where your fuse box or circuit breakers are located. If you find damaged wiring and you know what circuit it's on, you can turn off that individual circuit. If you're not sure or have widespread electrical damage, you can turn off your main power supply. Check cabinets, closets, even pictures hanging on walls to make sure they're secure, that they won't fall off during an aftershock, hurting someone. Check medicine and cleaning cabinets. Look to make sure that medicines and chemicals haven't spilled. Sometimes chemicals that are typically regarded as harmless can mix together, creating very poisonous substances. Make sure your sewer system is working. If it's not, go to a neighbor's house or use a portable camping toilet. You don't want raw sewage backing up into your house. Try and let your utilities know if your water's been cut off, your sewer is disconnected, your power is out, or you've had to shut off your gas. But don't expect a repair person to come out right away, because thousands of other people are in the same boat you are. The best thing you can do right now is to try and have patience. Glenn Farley, King 5 News.
Okay, so once you've assessed the damage around your home, the next step, of course, will be a fix-up plan. A warning for do-it-yourselfers: don't get too ambitious. King 5's Kathy Kiyomura reports on what's doable and what's not.
The earthquake cracked, shifted, and tumbled chimneys throughout the region. Inger Brody's chimney came down with a thud.
We're going to see if maybe some other houses in the neighborhood want to combine and get a discount.
Experts advise do-it-yourselfers not to tackle major chimney damage, projects that go beyond loose mortar and minor cracks. If an earthquake appears to move a chimney or create large fractures, it may be time to call a professional, because loose bricks can fall and hurt you, and debris could be blocking a furnace flue.
A lot of chimneys that we're seeing, bricks have fallen down the insides of them.
So if there's a block, then what are we afraid of?
That exhaust not having any place to go but back into the house.
Do-it-yourself repairs like replacing damaged water heaters could save a few $100s in installation charges. Homeowners can fix small cracks.
These are pre-mixed concrete patches, and they're good for stucco. Hairline cracks in the wood, you just want to use a caulk.
But if it's a fissure you can slip a butter knife into, call a professional.
We want to make sure you don't have a structural problem, and that's way out of the hands of the average homeowner.
If water pipes have broken, minimize damage by turning off the main water valve. If you live in an older home, that main valve may be in the water meter box outside. If you hire a contractor, home fix-it experts say get several bids and references. In Seattle, Kathy Kiyomura, King 5 News.
The Attorney General's office has this advice for hiring somebody to repair your damaged home. Be wary of contractors soliciting business door to door. Check to make sure a contractor is registered with the Department of Labor and Industries. Do not give in to high-pressure sales tactics, and never pay for repairs in advance or with cash.
The world has just rocked and rolled, and you want to know if your family's safe, and they want to know if you're safe as well. But the phones are jammed, and you can't get through. Jim Dever offers some tips that might help you reach the people you need to reach when the big one does hit.
After the quake come the calls.
There's no sound at all. It just keeps saying dialing and then the number.
Following this latest earthquake, more than 73 million phone calls were attempted in western Washington.
Clearly, those were people that were picking up the phone, dialing, picking up the phone again and dialing, picking up the phone again and dialing.
Your busy signal wasn't caused by broken lines. It came from an overcrowded switching system.
The volume jumped to 6 times.
To avoid clogging the networks after a quake, you should limit your wired and cell phone calls to essential use only.
After an emergency is not the time to necessarily describe your experience and what it felt like.
And stay away from sending email on a dial-up web connection.
That's a 15-minute transaction on average. A voice communication is about a 3-minute transaction.
As for long distance, plan ahead by designating an out-of-town emergency contact.
Make one quick phone call to that person to say, I'm okay, and then have that person call everybody that you need to call, so you limit the number of calls that you have.
Think you can bypass the jam by relaying your local message through a long-distance friend? Forget it.
That's a myth. It just won't work. Because sooner or later you're going to end up having to get into that area that's all congested.
Wired and cell phones alike get bogged down, but there are some alternatives you could consider. One partially earthquake-proof technology is the satellite phone. Outgoing calls from these are beamed directly into space, completely bypassing the overburdened local network. So as long as you're calling someone outside the area, your call will go through. And using a personal frequency, two-way radios can link users within a few miles, but they can't make phone calls and require a one-time fee of at least $500. One last tip. Because phone lines are powered independently, you should keep a standard wired phone handy. It'll keep working when your cordless can't.
That way, when the power goes out, you're still going to be able to make a call.
Preparation and patience should keep you on the line, if and when the big one strikes.
Understand that you are sharing a very precious resource at a critical time.
But when the quake of 2001 hit because of the time of day, many of us had children at school.
Coming up, we'll examine how safe schools are, plus some tips on how to get your home ready for the next big quake. That story's next when Northwest Earthquake, a survivor's guide, returns.
I froze, to be real honest with you, for about 10 seconds. I was like, whoa! I couldn't move. I was speechless. And, you know, right now you can knock me over with a feather. I'm awestruck by it.
You're watching Northwest Earthquake, a survivor's guide.
When the Northwest Earthquake hit, families all across western Washington had their houses rocked.
Foundations shifted and valuables tumbled and broke. King 5's Pat McReynolds shows you what you can do to help quake-proof your home.
We're starting tonight in a bedroom because that's where we spend most of our time and where we're most likely to get caught in a quake. So what do you need to do? Well, if you have a painting or a mirror over your bed and over your head, you need to move it because it, of course, could fall on you. Also, if you have a window that could shatter, try to make sure you have level or blinds to act as a shield. But if the glass does get on the ground, make sure you have an extra pair of shoes underneath your bed so that you don't walk on the glass in your bare feet. And that's just the beginning of what you need to do to make sure your house is prepared for the next quake. Gloria Martin is a collector. Her house is filled with knickknacks. But amazingly, the only thing broken after the quake was this crystal swan.
It's a miracle. I thought I lost everything.
Gloria isn't taking any more chances and is ready to protect her home. So we brought in an earthquake preparedness expert.
If it is not anchored with plumber's tape, top and bottom, the tank will walk away from its mooring.
Howard Lent with the Red Cross started with the water heater and told us that everything that is heavy enough to fall and hurt you should be bolted to the wall or the floor, including your home to its foundation.
Now this is something we've got to talk about. It looks to me as though it's a bit top-heavy with the heavy TV and this electronic equipment on it. And in a good shake, this could topple. And if you've got children sitting in front of this entertainment center watching TV or playing or whatever, this could be a very dangerous object
Items found at your local hardware stores like child locks, thumb clips, and quake wax can keep your cabinet shut and your dishes and appliances in place, especially if they are of great monetary or sentimental value.
The items that you see in here, all these knickknacks, I'm sure have some value, as well as being possibly heirlooms and what have you. So it's something that you want to keep and not have break up.
Taking these few and in many cases inexpensive steps can not only save your heirlooms, but also your life.
The whole idea in not only earthquakes, but any type of disaster, whether it be an earthquake, a flood, a hurricane, a tornado, whatever, is preparedness.
You put things off. But now I'm going to. I'm going to wash everything and I'm going to use it.
Once you get your home the way you want it, there is one more item that you need to pick up. This is a 72-hour survival kit from the Red Cross that includes everything you need to sustain you if you happen to get cut off from emergency service and you're on your own. And if you want any other information about making your home prepared for the next earthquake, just go to king5.com and click on news links, and there you can get the information from the Red Cross website. In Renton, Pat McReynolds, King 5 News.
Later on in the program, we'll have an expert in from the Red Cross. He'll show us what's in one of those survival kits and what every family should have on hand. Well, as we've already seen, communicating with family and friends after an earthquake is often difficult or impossible.
When you're separated from your children, the stresses are enormous. Josephine Chang reports on how many schools plan ahead to keep our kids safe when the big one hits.
Earthquake, son.
When the big one hits,
Guys, make sure you are completely at the table.
many parents' first thought will be, how are my children?
Earthquake! Come on, get under the table. Get under the table. Stay under the table. Remain covered. Stay under your spots.
You should know every daycare and school in Washington state has an emergency plan and conducts earthquake drills, or should.
Hide under the climber or a table so nothing will fall down on you.
Ask if your child's daycare is doing something similar to KidSpace.
Let's see, Band-Aids, medical equipment, snap lights.
Your daycare should have emergency kits that include food and water for 3 days, medical supplies, and emergency contact information. One thing you can do, which a lot of daycares recommend, is to write a comfort letter to be kept in the emergency kit. This one, for example, says, "Dear Sophie, we know you are safe and your teachers and friends are all taking care of each other. Please help them and we will come as soon as we can. Love, Daddy and Mommy." You can also include photos of yourselves and your kids so that they can feel better when you're not there.
We let them have it and hold it. They would take that, and that's their thing to hold on to and be in charge of.
For older children, school could be the best place during and after a quake.
Oh, we're definitely ready.
First, schools are a high priority for state-funded retrofitting. Secondly, they're required to have detailed plans, with the principal becoming an incident command chief, and teachers and staff performing specific jobs, such as triage and search and rescue. Seattle's John Hay Elementary performs a drill like this.
Earthquake, take cover. Hold on, cover those necks.
Every month.
We're going to evacuate quietly and orderly. Kendra! Kate! We have practiced and practiced and practiced. I knew they could do it. I just wanted to see that they would do it.
In the event of a catastrophe, the playground will turn into a makeshift shelter, housing not only students, but people from the neighborhood as well.
Okay, and here we keep extra rations of water.
Many schools stock far more than the required 72 hours worth of water and food.
We would even be able to have small portions of the community because we would have enough room and we have enough food.
Schools also have counselors for the kids' psychological comfort. School-age children may become very worried about parents and siblings.
It was just really frightening because I've never been in an earthquake, especially a big one. And I was just wondering, is my sister okay? Is my sister okay? Because she's only in kindergarten.
Don't forget, your response to the earthquake will affect your child's response.
It was probably the adults that razzled the children more than the earthquake itself.
So when the big one hits, chances are good that you won't be with your children. But you can help make sure your daycare or school is prepared, because your littlest ones will be your biggest priority.
Although schools and school districts have their own policies on preparing for an earthquake, there is no state law that mandates preparation. However, there is a law pending in the legislature that would make earthquake preparation a requirement.
In a major disaster such as a big earthquake, projections indicate most emergency services won't be available for at least the first 3 days afterward. That's why it's critical for all of us to have our own response plan.
A major disaster like an earthquake can shake a city's core, overwhelming 911 centers and leaving you cut off from aid.
I lost everything. I don't know, I'm lost.
But with a little planning,
Here's the gloves.
help can be right next door.
In step 6, I was supposed to go get my fire extinguisher, which I keep in here, and take it out to the street. So that's what I did. And there were my neighbors doing exactly the same thing. Hard hats, fire extinguishers, ready to go. It was very comforting for all of us.
The Seattle Disaster Aid and Response Team, or START, trains neighborhoods like this one in Crown Hill to take action.
At some point, people are going to have to get organized if a lot has occurred on the street. We want them to be organized up front so that when the disaster occurs, they now respond.
By following simple guidelines, neighbors can organize their own emergency centers. START recommends neighbors establish a central meeting place with supplies.
So in this trash can are all kinds of supplies that we would need in a disaster.
Then split up into 6 teams, each with a specific responsibility.
These are clipboards that have instructions for each of the teams.
Major responsibilities include establishing an information center, setting up a first aid station and a search and rescue team, turning off gas and removing dangerous debris, and creating a shelter for children and the elderly.
And these are some toys and fun things for them to play with so that they can be occupied. And here's a soft fuzzy. I feel like our block is in great shape. We've now had this fabulous dress rehearsal. We know that we can do this.
If your neighborhood isn't disorganized, even a loose plan like exchanging numbers and identifying those with CPR training can better your odds of survival in a major disaster.
Eat, play, get to know each other. That would be step number 1. Have a party.
A neighborhood response plan not only gives you preparedness training, but also some peace of mind.
There's no question in my mind that someday Seattle is going to have a more serious earthquake than we just experienced. Someday these skills and supplies that they've been building and acquiring over time will be invaluable to them.
That's the truth. The START training program consists of 4 meetings over a 2-year period with refresher drills every 9 months. To get your neighborhood involved, call the City of Seattle's Division of Emergency Management at 206-233-5076 or simply log on to their website by heading for king5.com and selecting news links.
With the big shakeup, a question enters your mind.
Is earthquake insurance the right thing for you? Next up, King 5's Robert Mack takes an in-depth look at that question and finds some important answers.
Plus, what's wrong with standing in a doorway during a quake? The surprising answer to this common question next.
I'm 34 floors up in Key Tower, and it was a good minute roll we felt yesterday, so it was kind of exciting. And I think we kind of got over it, but this morning I'm thinking about it.